The shuttle was falling apart. Could hear the metal screaming as fire wrapped around the small ship. Through the window, she saw nothing but orange flames and black smoke. The planet below was green and angry, covered in thick jungle that looked like it wanted to eat anything that landed on it. "We are going to die," said. He was a tall, insect-like alien with big eyes that looked in every direction at once. His 4 arms were holding tight to his seat and his whole body was shaking. "This planet has killed 14 survey teams. 14. We will be 15. Did not answer. She was busy checking her belt and her small personal bag. Everything was still there. Good. Was sitting across from her. Which meant her body was like clear jelly. When we're scared, their bodies started to lose shape. Right now, looked like she was melting into her seat. "The emergency systems are failing," said, her voice wobbling like water. "We have no control." The 4th crew member was. He was a 4-legged creature covered in sharp quills like a porcupine. Normally we're brave and calm, but right now his quills were standing straight up, which meant he was terrified. "Brace for impact," the computer said in a calm voice that did not match the situation at all. The shuttle hit the ground hard. Everything went dark. When opened her eyes, she was hanging upside down from her seat. Water was coming into the shuttle from somewhere. The water smelled bad, like rotten eggs mixed with chemicals. She could feel it burning her skin a little. She cut herself free from the seat straps and dropped down. Her boots splashed in the strange water. "Everyone alive?" she called out. "I am functioning," said. He was already standing, his compound eyes scanning the damage. "But the shuttle is not." Reformed herself into a proper shape and slid out of her seat. "That water is acidic. We need to get out of here before it rises higher." Kicked open the emergency door with his powerful back legs. Sunlight came in along with the sounds of the jungle. Strange birds were calling. Insects were buzzing. And somewhere in the distance, something large was growling. They climbed out onto solid ground. The jungle surrounded them on all sides. The trees were massive, taller than any building had ever seen on Earth. The leaves were dark purple instead of green. Flowers the size of cars hung from the branches, and some of them had teeth. "This is 442B, said, pulling out his data pad. "Class 7, Death World. Survival probability for non-adapted species is approximately 6%. 6%, repeated. That means 94% of people who come here die. Correct. Looked around at the alien jungle. She took a deep breath. The air was thick and wet but breathable. That was something at least. Went back into the shuttle and came out carrying a large metal case. "The Galactic Standard Survival Kit," he announced. 47 items selected by the Union's top scientists. Everything we need to survive until rescue arrives. He opened the case and began pulling out items. Atmospheric converter in case the air becomes toxic. Nutrient paste, 30-day supply. Water purification tablets. Emergency shelter unit. Medical scanner. Sonic deterrent for wildlife. Emergency beacon for. He stopped. His 4 hands were holding a broken piece of equipment. The emergency beacon was shattered. The part that sent signals to rescue ships was completely destroyed. "No beacon," said quietly. "No one knows we crashed. No one is coming." Silence fell over the group. Even the jungle seemed to go quiet for a moment. Squills started rattling, which was a sign of extreme stress in. "We are stuck here, on a planet that kills almost everyone, with no way to call for help." "The shuttle's communication array," said quickly. "Perhaps we can repair." "Destroyed," said. She had already checked. Impact took out the whole forward section. More silence. Reached into her personal bag. She pulled out a single object and held it up so everyone could see. It was a knife. A simple fixed-blade knife about 20 centimeters long with a wooden handle and a steel blade. Nothing special, nothing fancy, just a good, solid knife. Stared at her. "That is your personal survival equipment, one knife." Yes. The protocol says crew members should carry backup supplies, emergency rations, water tablets, medical patches, at minimum 15 items for. I brought a knife, said calmly. Stepped closer, looking at the small blade. Human, we are on a death world. There are creatures here that can kill in seconds, plants that eat flesh, whether that can melt metal, and you brought a knife. Tested the edge of the blade with her thumb, sharp, perfect. This should handle it. The three aliens looked at each other. They had heard stories about humans, strange stories. Humans were new to the galaxy, only joining the Galactic Union 50 years ago. They came from a planet called Earth, which was, by galactic standards, a fairly dangerous world. But humans themselves seemed so fragile. No natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. And yet, humans kept surviving things they should not survive. We need to move, said, putting the knife back in its sheath on her belt. The shuttle crash made a lot of noise. Everything in this jungle knows we are here now. We need to find high ground, fresh water, and a place we can defend. The survival kit has a location scanner, said. It can find. Does it work? Checked. The screen was cracked. It is damaged. Pointed at the sun, which was starting to move lower in the purple sky. Sun sets in the west. There are mountains that direction. I saw them when we were falling. Mountains mean caves, fresh water, and a view of anything coming for us. We go west. She started walking. After a moment, the three aliens followed. They did not know what else to do. They had 47 items in their survival kit, but their human only had a knife. And somehow, that made them feel a little bit better. The jungle was trying to kill them, was sure of it. In the first hour of walking, they had already faced three dangers. First, a patch of ground that looked solid but was actually a living creature that tried to swallow whole. Had spotted it just in time because the ground was breathing slightly. Second, a beautiful blue flower that shot poison needles when they walked too close. Got hit in the arm, but his exoskeleton protected him. Third, a river of water so acidic that a leaf that fell into it dissolved in seconds. This planet hates life, said. Her jelly-like body was tired and sagging. We're not built for long walks. No, said, using her knife to cut through thick vines blocking their path. This planet loves life. Too much. Everything here is alive and everything is hungry. Was checking his data pad constantly. According to the survival database, we should avoid the following creatures: stalkers, acid spitters, swarm flyers, ground mouths, tree stranglers, and approximately 200 other species classified as extremely dangerous. How do we avoid them if they are everywhere? Asked. The database recommends item 31 from the survival kit, the sonic deterrent. It produces sounds that most predators find unpleasant. Does it work on all 200 species? Was quiet for a moment. It works on 12. Wonderful. Stopped walking. She held up her hand, telling everyone to be silent. The jungle had gone quiet. No birds calling. No insects buzzing. When nature goes silent, something dangerous is close. What is it? Whispered. Did not answer. She was looking at the shadows between the trees. Something was moving there, something big. It came out of the darkness like a nightmare. 6 legs, each one ending in claws the size of kitchen knives. A body covered in black armor that looked harder than metal. A head with no eyes, just a mouth full of teeth that curved backward like hooks. Once those teeth grabbed you, you could never pull free. Stalker said, his voice shaking. Apex predator. The database says to avoid at all costs. Do not engage, do not run, play dead and hope it leaves. The creature was not leaving. It was walking toward them slowly, its mouth opening and closing, tasting the air. It had found food. It was not going to let food escape. Pulled out the sonic deterrent from the survival kit. His 4 hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped it. I need to calibrate it for local fauna frequencies. Give me 30 seconds. We do not have 30 seconds, said, backing away. The stalker moved faster. It was done testing. Now it was hunting. Stepped forward. "Human, what are you doing?" screamed. Pulled out her knife, just her knife, nothing else. She held it low, blade pointing up, and she walked toward the monster. The stalker was confused for a moment. Prey did not walk toward predators. This was wrong. This was not how things worked. It hesitated. Did not hesitate. The creature lunged. Its mouth opened wide enough to swallow her whole. Moved to the side fast but calm, like she had done this 1,000 times. The stalker's teeth snapped shut on empty air. Before it could turn, was already moving. She jumped onto its back, grabbed one of the armor plates for balance, and drove her knife into the soft spot where the head connected to the body. The stalker screamed. It was a horrible sound, like metal being torn apart. It tried to shake her off but held on tight. She pulled the knife out and stabbed again, and again. The creature fell. Its 6 legs kicked weakly for a moment, then stopped. Green blood was spreading on the ground. Jumped off the dead body. She was breathing hard, but she was not hurt, not even a scratch. The 3 aliens stared at her. They could not speak. They could not move. They had just watched a small, soft human kill an apex predator with nothing but a knife. "How did you do that?" finally asked. Was wiping her knife clean on the stalker's armor. Humans are what we call persistence predators. Long ago, before we had technology, our ancestors hunted by chasing animals until they collapsed from exhaustion. We cannot run fast, but we can run forever. We cannot fight with claws, but we can fight with tools. We cannot take a hit, so we learn to not get hit. She put the knife back in its sheath. That thing was big and strong and scary, but it was also slow to turn, blind in direct front, and had exactly one soft spot on its whole body. I just needed to find it. But the database said. The database was written by people who never fought one. I learned by doing. Squills slowly went back down. "You are insane." "Maybe, but I am alive," looked at the dead stalker, "and now we have food." She began using her knife to cut into the creature's body. The armor was tough, but there were gaps between the plates. Soon, she was pulling out chunks of meat that smelled strange but not bad. "You are going to eat it?" asked, looking sick. "The database says stalker meat is edible for most species," said, checking his data pad. "High protein, actually quite nutritious." "Then yes, we are going to eat it." Started a fire using dry wood and a small spark from her knife striking a rock. Another thing the aliens had never seen before. "We are also going to use the bones for tools, the armor plates for shelter, and the tendons for rope." "One creature gives us all that?" asked. "Humans call it using everything. An animal dies so we can live. We respect that by wasting nothing." Looked up at the purple sky. Night was coming. "We make camp here tonight. Tomorrow we keep moving toward the mountains." That night, as they ate roasted stalker meat around the fire, finally understood something about humans. The Galactic Union had 47 items in their survival kit because they tried to prepare for every possible situation. They wanted tools for everything. They wanted to be ready for any problem. Humans were different. Humans brought one good tool and then made that tool solve every problem. They did not prepare for situations. They adapted to them. They changed. They learned. And when something tried to kill them, they killed it first and then ate it for dinner. Looked at his survival kit, with its 47 items that mostly did not work on this planet. Then he looked at who was using her knife to carve a new handle for a bone spear. One knife, that was all she had. And somehow, that was all she needed. 4 days on the death world and they were still alive. This was already a record. Had built them a small camp at the base of the mountains. Using her knife and materials from the jungle, she had created a shelter from stalker bones and large leaves. She had made water filters from tree bark and charcoal. She had set traps that caught small animals for food. She had carved a spear for who turned out to be an excellent hunter once he had a proper weapon. The aliens were learning. slowly but learning. Humans really lived like this? Asked one morning. She was helping weave a basket for carrying supplies. Her jelly-like body was surprisingly good at delicate work. For most of our history, yes. We only had advanced technology for the last few hundred years. Before that, it was stone and wood and fire. That seems difficult. It was. Many humans died, but enough survived to have children, and those children were a little bit tougher, a little bit smarter. After thousands of generations, we became very good at not dying. Was examining his data pad. Most of the survival kit items had failed by now. The atmospheric converter needed a power source they did not have. The nutrient paste had been contaminated by local bacteria. The medical scanner worked, but the treatments it recommended required chemicals that did not exist on this planet. I am beginning to understand, said slowly, why your species values simplicity. Simple tools do not break, agreed. Simple plans do not fail. When everything is trying to kill you, simple is what keeps you alive. Came running into camp. His quills were fully raised and he was breathing hard. We have a problem, a big problem. What kind? Swarm flyers, thousands of them coming this way. His face went serious. She had read about swarm flyers in the database. They were small flying creatures, each one no bigger than a human fist. Alone, they were not dangerous, but they never came alone. They moved in groups of thousands, sometimes tens of thousands. Each one had a stinger filled with venom that could kill most species in minutes. When a swarm attacked, they covered their target completely, stinging again and again until nothing was left but bones. How long until they get here? Asked. Maybe 1 hour, maybe less. We cannot outrun a swarm, said. They move faster than any of us can run. The database recommends item 41, the emergency force field generator. It creates a barrier that. Is it working? Checked, his antenna drooped in defeat. The power cell is cracked. It has maybe 30 seconds of power remaining. What about item 42, the toxin neutralizer? It cannot synthesize an antidote for unknown venom. We would need a sample of the swarm flyer poison, and by the time we had a sample, we would already be dead. Was starting to lose her shape again. Then we are finished. Even humans cannot fight a swarm. There are too many. You cannot stab 10,000 enemies with one knife. Was quiet. She was looking around the camp, at the trees, at the fire pit, at the materials they had gathered. Her mind was working fast. She said suddenly, "How much heat can your body take?" What? Your species evolved near volcanic vents. How hot can you get before you are hurt? Was confused but answered. About 400 degrees Kelvin, maybe a little more if I concentrate. Why? Was already moving. She ran to a nearby tree and used her knife to cut deep into the bark. A thick, golden liquid started flowing out. It smelled strong, like chemicals and burning. This is what the trees use to protect themselves from insects, explained, collecting the liquid in a large leaf. I noticed it 3 days ago. Very sticky, very flammable. You want to burn the swarm? Asked. Burning would just make them angry, but smoke might be different. Was running around the camp now collecting different materials, dry leaves, certain flowers that smelled very bad, ash from their fire pit. Every flying creature hates smoke. It blinds them, it confuses them, and if we make the right kind of smoke. You want me to be a container, said, suddenly understanding. You want to mix things inside my body because I can handle the heat. Can you do it? Looked scared, but she also looked determined. 4 days ago, she thought she was going to die on this planet. Now a human was asking her to help save everyone. I can do it. Worked fast. She poured the tree liquid into his body. She added the crushed flowers, the ash, other things she had collected. His body glowed and bubbled as the chemicals mixed inside her. It was not comfortable, but she held herself together. Now we need to contain it, said. She used her knife to cut a large piece of stalker armor into a bowl shape. Pour the mixture in here, slowly. The result was a thick, dark paste that smelled absolutely terrible. This is the worst thing I have ever smelled, said, backing away. Good, if we hate it, the swarm will hate it more. They could hear the swarm now, a sound like a million angry bees getting closer. The sky to the east was getting dark, but not because of clouds. It was the swarm, so thick it blocked the sun. Get behind me, said. She placed the paste in the center of their camp and pulled out item 3 from the survival kit, the emergency igniter, one of the few items that still worked perfectly. The swarm arrived like a living storm, millions of small bodies with sharp stingers, moving as one, hungry and deadly. They surrounded the camp, blocking out all light. Lit the paste. The explosion of smoke was instant and massive. Thick, black, horrible smoke that spread in every direction. The smell was beyond terrible. It was like every bad smell in the universe combined into one. The swarm went insane. The smoke was doing something to them, not just blinding them but hurting them. The creatures started flying in random directions, crashing into each other. Their perfect coordination was completely broken. They could not find the food anymore. They could not find anything. In minutes, the swarm scattered. Millions of creatures flying away as fast as they could, trying to escape the horrible smoke. Soon the sky was clear again. Sat down heavily. She was covered in sweat and ash, but she was smiling. That is not in any manual, said. He was looking at like she was some kind of miracle. Humans wrote the first manuals by experimenting on ourselves, said. Usually with fire. Fire solves a lot of problems. What problems does fire not solve? Running out of things to burn, but on this planet there is plenty to burn, she looked at. You did great, how do you feel? Was reforming her body back to its normal shape. Strange, but proud. I have never been a chemical mixer before. It was actually interesting. You saved our lives. We saved our lives together. Sat down next to. His quills were finally relaxed. Human, I apologize for saying you were insane. No need. I probably am insane, but insane and alive is better than normal and dead. That night they celebrated being alive. They ate well. They laughed. They told stories about their home worlds. And started making notes. He was going to write a new survival manual when they got home. A human survival manual. It would be very different from the old one. The first rule would be, bring a knife, figure out the rest. On the 7th day, they found something that should not exist. And her crew had finally reached the mountains. The climbing was hard, but they were all stronger now than when they had crashed. Even, who never thought she could travel on land, had learned to move quickly over rough ground. There is a cave ahead, called out. He was scouting in front, using his 4 legs to climb the rocky slope easily. Big enough for all of us, and I think I smell water inside. Fresh water was always good news. They made their way to the cave entrance. But it was not a cave. The entrance was carved from stone, but not by nature. The edges were too straight, too perfect, and beyond the entrance they could see metal walls, strange lights and technology that none of them recognized. This is not natural, said, his compound eyes wide. This is a structure. Someone built this. The database says this planet has no intelligent life, said nervously. Just animals and plants. The database is wrong about many things, replied. She was already walking inside, her knife ready. Stay close. The structure went deep into the mountain. The walls were made of a metal that seemed to glow slightly in the dark. Strange symbols were carved everywhere, in a language none of them could read. The technology was beyond anything the Galactic Union had ever built. They found a large room filled with machines. Stasis pods lined the walls. Energy weapons hung on racks. Star maps showed galaxies that should not be visible from this part of space. And in the center of the room, sitting on a chair made of crystal, was a creature. It was old, ancient. Its skin was gray and thin, stretched over bones that seemed too fragile to support any weight. Its eyes were large and golden, filled with thousands of years of knowledge and sadness. When it saw them enter, it smiled. "Visitors," it said. Its voice was like leaves rustling in wind. "After 3,000 years, visitors." Checked his data pad with shaking hands. "I have no record of this species, nothing in any database. Who are you?" "I am," the ancient creature said, "keeper of this station, last survivor of the precursor expedition." Precursors stepped forward. The precursors are legends, ancient beings who traveled the stars before any current species existed. They disappeared millions of years ago. "Not millions, thousands, and we did not disappear, we died," gestured at the room around them. "This was our research station. 50 scientists came here to study this planet. I am the only one left." "What happened to the others?" asked. "This planet happened," stood up slowly, his old joints making crackling sounds. "We came here with the best technology our civilization had ever created. Ships that could cross galaxies in days, weapons that could destroy moons, computers that could predict the future. We thought we were gods." He walked to a window that looked out over the jungle below. Within 100 years, all of it failed. Power sources depleted, materials corroded. The complex machines broke down, and we did not have the simple skills to fix them. My colleagues died one by one, killed by a planet they could not understand and could not adapt to. "But you survived," said. Turned to look at her. His golden eyes studied her carefully. "You are the human." "Yes. I have watched your species from here. 50 years ago you joined the Galactic Union. Such a young species, such primitive technology. Many of the older races laughed at you." He paused. "I did not laugh." "Why not?" "Because I saw what you did. When your ships failed, you fixed them with simple tools. When your machines broke, you built new ones from basic materials. When your colonies faced disaster, your people did not give up. They adapted. They changed. They survived." Walked closer too. He looked at the knife on her belt. "What is that?" "A knife, steel blade, wooden handle." "That is your survival tool." "Yes." Was quiet for a long moment. Then he laughed. It was a strange sound, like wind blowing through ancient trees. "My people brought thousands of tools to this world, the finest technology of a galaxy-spanning civilization. All of it failed within a century. The power sources died. The materials broke down. The complexity became impossible to maintain." He shook his head slowly. "And you bring a knife." "A knife does not need power," said. "It does not break easily, and when it does break, I can make a new one." "Yes, I know. After my technology failed, I learned the same lesson. I survived with stone and wood and fire. The simple things, the eternal things." Looked at with new respect. "Your people already knew this lesson." "We learned it the hard way, several times. We are slow learners, but we do not forget." Walked to a control panel and pressed some buttons. A map appeared in the air, showing the planet and a location marked with a bright red dot. "There is a working beacon 100 kilometers east. Precursor technology, but simple enough that it still functions. It can send a signal to your Galactic Union. Your rescue will come within days." "You are helping us?" asked. "Why?" "Because I have been alone for 3,000 years and I am tired." Sat back down in his crystal chair. "And because I want something in return." "What?" Pointed its knife. "That." Everyone was confused. Spoke first. "You want her knife. You have weapons that could destroy moons. Why do you want a simple steel blade?" "Because the weapons that destroy moons do not work anymore. Because your moon destroyers were always useless for survival. Because that knife has kept 4 people alive on a death world for 7 days. His golden eyes were fixed on the blade. "It is worth more than all the technology in this room." put her hand on her knife. She thought about the offer, a rescue beacon for a knife. It seemed like a fair trade. But then she shook her head. No. His eyes widened. No, you refuse rescue. I refuse to give up the knife. This blade has kept my crew alive. It is not just a tool anymore. It is proof. Proof of what? Looked at her alien, then back at. Proof that humans belong out here. That we do not need precursor technology or the Union's 47-item kits or anybody's permission to survive. We just need to refuse to die. She took a step forward, and we will find that beacon ourselves, the old-fashioned way, by walking there and not dying along the way. Stared at her for a long time. The room was completely silent. Then he laughed again. This time it was a real laugh full of joy. Your species, he said, shaking his head in wonder, is going to terrify the galaxy. The ancient races, the powerful empires, the advanced civilizations. They will all learn to fear you, not because you are stronger, not because you are smarter, not because you have better technology. Then why? Because you cannot be stopped, because you do not know how to quit, because when the universe tells you to die, you look at it and say no, smiled, and for a moment he looked young again. I give you the beacon location freely. No trade needed. Your species has already given me something more valuable than any knife. What? Hope. For 3,000 years I watched civilizations rise and fall. I watched species become powerful and then collapse when their technology failed. I thought the galaxy was doomed to repeat this cycle forever. He looked at with tears in his golden eyes. But now I see a species that builds civilizations on something stronger than technology. You build on stubbornness and will and the refusal to surrender. That cannot fail. That cannot break. He gave them supplies for the journey, food, water, and maps. He wished them well. As they left, turned back one last time. What will you do now? Wait, said peacefully. I have waited 3,000 years. I can wait a little longer. Perhaps someday your people will return here, not with technology, but with something better. What? Teachers. Humans who can show the galaxy how to truly survive. Not with 47 items in a kit, but with a knife and the will to use it. Smiled, we will come back, I promise. I believe you. Humans keep their promises. That is another thing the galaxy will learn to fear. The rescue ship arrived on day 12. It came down through the purple clouds like a silver bird, its engines roaring as it landed in the clearing near the precursor beacon. The hatch opened, and a team of rescue workers rushed out, ready to find bodies. Instead, they found 4 survivors sitting around a campfire, eating roasted meat and laughing. By the stars, the rescue commander said. He was alike with compound eyes that could not believe what they were seeing. You are alive, all of you. Were you expecting something different? Asked, standing up to greet him. This is a Class 7 death world. Survival probability is 6%. The average expedition lasts 72 hours before, he could not finish the sentence. Before everyone dies, finished for him. Yes, we read the database. The database was wrong about many things. The rescue workers looked around the camp. They saw the shelter made from bones and leaves. They saw the water filters made from bark. They saw the smoking racks where meat was being preserved. They saw the spears and tools carved from wood and stone. How did you do this? The commander asked. The standard survival kit has 47 items specifically designed for hostile environment survival. Did you use the atmospheric converter, the emergency shelter unit, the nutrient synthesizer? Pulled out the survival kit case. Most of the items inside were broken or useless. We used item 3, the emergency igniter. We used some of the first aid patches. That is about all that worked. 2 items out of 47. The human had a knife, explained. It was sufficient. The commander turned to look at. She was standing quietly, her hand resting on the knife at her belt. The same knife she had brought 12 days ago. the same knife that had kept them all alive. "The debriefing team is going to want to understand this," the commander said slowly. "How you survived a Class 7 death world with minimal equipment. It should not be possible." "It was not easy," admitted, "but it was not impossible either. We just had to adapt." "Adapt?" "Yes, the survival kit assumes you know what dangers you will face. It gives you tools for specific problems. But on a death world, you do not know what will try to kill you next. You cannot prepare for everything." She patted the knife on her belt. "So you bring something simple that works for anything, and you figure out the rest as you go." The commander shook his head in amazement. "The Union has been making survival kits for 500 years. We have scientists who spend their entire lives designing better equipment. And you are saying a knife is better than all of it." "I am saying the tool is less important than the person using it." Looked at her. Learned to build shelter from local materials. Discovered she could be a chemical mixer. Became an excellent hunter. They did not need 47 items. They needed the will to survive and the creativity to solve problems. "The human way," said. There was pride in his voice now. "We survived the human way." The journey back to the ship was quiet. The rescue workers kept staring at the 4 survivors like they were looking at ghosts. In a way, they were. No one survived Class 7 death worlds. It simply did not happen. Until now. On the ship, they were given medical checks. The doctor was surprised to find all 4 of them in excellent health, better than when they had started in some ways. The hard living had made them stronger. "There is one more thing," said before they left the planet's orbit. "We met someone down there, an ancient being named, the last survivor of a precursor expedition." The commander's eyes went wide. "Precursors, they are just legends." "They are real, and they have been watching us, watching humans," smiled slightly. "Said something interesting. He said humans are going to terrify the galaxy." "Terrify? But humans are one of the youngest species in the Union. Your technology is still primitive compared to—" "That is exactly the point," stepped forward. He had been quiet during the rescue, but now he wanted to speak. "The older species depend on technology. When technology fails, they fail. But humans do not depend on technology. They depend on themselves." "I do not understand." "Consider this," continued. "What happens when a colony loses power? We cannot survive. Our atmospheric systems fail. Our food production fails. Everything fails. But what happens when a human colony loses power?" "We light candles," said. "We hunt for food. We dig wells for water. We build fires for warmth. We complain a lot, but we do not die." "You adapt." "We adapt always. It is what we do. It is who we are." The commander was quiet for a long time. He looked out the window at the death world growing smaller below them, a planet that should have killed these 4 people, a planet that had killed 14 expeditions before them. "I am going to recommend changes to the survival protocols," he said finally, "based on your experience." "What kind of changes?" "Simpler equipment, better training, more focus on adaptability instead of preparation." He paused. "And I am going to recommend that every survival kit includes a knife as item 1, a good, simple, reliable knife." Smiled. "That is a good start." 6 months later, the Galactic Union released new survival guidelines. The document was titled Adaptive Survival Methodology and was unlike anything the Union had published before. The standard kit was reduced from 47 items to 12. Every item was simple, durable, and could be used for multiple purposes. No complex electronics, no specialized equipment, just basic tools that would work anywhere in any situation. A fixed-blade knife was item 1. It was marked as mandatory for all expeditions. The introduction to the new guidelines read, "Survival is not a function of technology. It is a function of will. The tool is secondary to the hand that wields it, and the hand is secondary to the mind that refuses to surrender. At the bottom, in smaller text, was a note: methodology developed in consultation with human survival expert of Earth, who requested her contribution be credited as, honestly, just bring a good knife and figure it out. The document spread across the galaxy. Species that had been spacefaring for millions of years read it with shock. They had always looked down on humans as young, primitive, and weak. Humans did not have natural armor like. They did not have compound eyes like. They did not have flexible bodies like. But humans had something none of them had: the refusal to die. Was right. The galaxy was learning to fear humans, not because humans were the strongest but because humans could not be stopped. Drop them on a death world with nothing but a knife, and they would build a civilization from bones and leaves. Take away their technology, and they would make new technology from rocks and sticks. Kill 94% of them, and the remaining 6% would figure out how to survive and then come back for revenge. That was the human way. And across 1,000 worlds, on 1,000 planets, in 1,000 different species, beings who had never met a human started to understand why this young species mattered, why they would change everything, why they would, eventually, lead the galaxy. Not because they were better than anyone else, but because they simply refused to lose. On Earth, in a small apartment, hung her knife on the wall. It was just a simple blade, steel and wood, worth maybe 50 credits at a hardware store, but it had kept 4 people alive on a death world. It had changed galactic survival protocols. It had made ancient precursors believe in hope again. It was proof that humans belonged among the stars. And that was worth more than all the technology in the universe.